Whenever I'm trying to pick out a new anime to watch, I always find myself scrolling through a massive list of things I want to watch, just to end up on Instagram Reels yet again. I always find it difficult to choose what to watch next, so this time, I decided to ask around for anime recommendations to, instead, put the decision on someone else. And so I decided to ask my community— oh, right, I don't have one of those. I then went around messaging practically everyone I know asking for anime recommendations, and so I ended up watching 24 anime recommendations, and in this video, I'm going to share my opinion on all of them. Enjoy. Fate Zero. I really wasn't expected to start off the video with an anime this good, but goddamn. Fate Zero is basically just a much better and much more coherent version of the Future Diary about this thing called the Holy Grail War. This war happens every 60 years where the Holy Grail selects 7 mages to come forth and summon servant spirits, which are essentially just a multitude of historical figures, like King Arthur or Gilgamesh. Each of these spirits have their own special skill and they are used to overcome the others and take the Holy Grail for themselves, allowing them to wish for anything to come true. And at first, I was expecting this anime to have a highly complicated plot because characters just get thrown in left, right, and center. And don't get me wrong, it does have a complicated plot. This is Fate that we're talking about, where you have to figure out the watch order before you can even start figuring out what the f is going on. But by the end of the first episode, everything just clicked, and I understood basically everything that was going on, despite all the different founding families and whatever else was going on. Fate Zero is made in a way that allows you to quickly understand what is happening, especially given the first episode has a cheeky little length of 47 minutes, and is used to set the scene and explain to you what you otherwise wouldn't understand. I still definitely won't recommend taking a nap whilst watching this though, especially later on in the anime. And bro, Gilgamesh only appearing to Aura Farm is peak. Like, come on. They even moved the subtitles so they wouldn't cover him or his face. The story is almost as unique as the watch order that you'll get if you ask a Fate fan how to watch the series, and the fights are entertaining as hell and enthrall you in the moment with their suspenseful direction, insane animation, and attention to detail, like Saber's hair being trimmed off when being attacked. Yes, I am fixated on a bit of hair, but come on, this is 2011 we're talking about, and yet the animation rivals some shit that comes out in the big 2025. I knew Fate Zero was going to be a great watch, and holy did it outdo itself. It was a very enjoyable watch, and I probably lost track of time about 4 times whilst watching it. I'll definitely be watching the rest of Fate if someone, for the love of God, tells me where the f I'm supposed to go next. 9 out of 10. Blend S. You've probably heard the iconic Blend S opening without even knowing where it's from, especially if you've seen those super edits that were around a few years back. But besides that, the anime is alright, I guess. It's about Maika, who wants to get a part-time job in order to be able to study abroad, but keeps getting rejected due to how her eyes look or something like that, until she finally manages to get a job at a place called Cafe Stile. This cafe is run by a weeb from Italy and essentially hires every mainstream dairy type as well as a token femboy. Yes, that is a man. The overall premise is that the manager of the cafe is in love with Maika and hires her for that reason, despite their concerning 10-year age gap, leading to the usual comedy slice of life romance that you'd expect. I was also told that this was a Gooner anime, and although this is already something that I definitely wouldn't watch on my own accord, it for sure can be called that at times, but it was still nowhere near the levels of some of the other stuff on this list of recommendations, as long as we ignore the mandatory beach episode. It was a fairly entertaining anime and quite funny at times, but there's definitely so much better stuff out there, to the point that this kinda just blends in with the rest. 6 out of 10. Mob Psycho. I'm gonna be honest, when I first started watching it, I could not fathom a reason as to why the hell it was so hyped up, because I found the first 8 or so episodes of the anime insanely boring. Maybe I was just in the wrong state of mind, but the humor felt dry, the abstract style of animation felt forced, and there was nothing of real significance happening, at least while Reagan wasn't on the screen. I'd heard so much good about this anime, and yet I was disappointed. Until Reagan pulled up at the end of the first season and destroyed my feeble illusion and set me straight. I was too quick to judge because Mob Psycho 100% ended up growing on me big time. Around episode 8 or 9, I actually started getting semi-interested, and by the time I'd finished season 1, my perspective on it had done a complete 180, and I was finally hopeful that Mob Psycho could live up to the hype. All thanks to my beloved goat Reagan, of course. Since the end of season 1 allowed my opinions to experience Shinji Shikai with the way they were completely turned inside out, I decided to continue to watch season 2, and it was goddamn great. Not just because Reagan had its own little character development arc, but because the season as a whole felt meaningful and like it actually contributed to the story. At this point, I had no clue where the f my prior hate came from, and I've prayed to a photo of Reagan on my wall every day to repent for my sins, because the last thing I wish to relive is being harassed for calling a popular anime mid. But even with my new and reformed opinion, I'm sure that I've only been exposed to a small part of the bigger picture, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Reagan carry the entirety of the 3rd season on his back when I get around to it. 7 out of 10. +1 for Reagan. Hajime no Ippo. In the unlucky case that you live under a rock, Hajime no Ippo is a sports anime about boxing. And I've personally never watched any sports anime in my goddamn life because all throughout that life, I've been a bum and never was interested in sports. Whether I regret it or not isn't the topic of this recommendation because Hajime no Ippo is fucking gas. It follows Ippo Makunoichi's journey to become stronger after a lucky encounter with a boxing professional named Takamura, whilst being absolutely rascalated by some elitist Jojo's fans. And I would be lying if I said I could remember a point in this anime where I wasn't entertained. It follows Ippo as he learns how to fight and become stronger, also growing as a person despite all the criticism and judgment surrounding him. Not only does Hajime no Ippo do a great job of showing us the losing and winning side of each match, and that everyone that Ippo fights is also a human with their own life goals and determination, it also does an even better job of portraying failure as a part of progress. Just because these people lose doesn't mean they give up. Just because they fall down doesn't mean they don't get back up. Despite the hardships, they always find a reason to stand up again and keep fighting for their dreams. And bro, I don't know what's more masculine than just a bunch of ripped dudes in the showers measuring dick sizes. On everyone's lives, yes, me and you, did this back in the day. This anime is also quite old, and you know, I'm not gonna complain if I'm stuck watching a 75 episode anime from the early 2000s, and rightfully so, because Hajime no Ippo is something that anyone could enjoy. Even if you're someone who's never done proper boxing in their life, Hajime no Ippo carries an important life message about how you should never give up on your dreams, and that hard work will always pay off. I honestly think that it speaks to many people, despite their age or gender, and that it's an inspirational piece of work that everyone with some sort of dream in life should watch. I am so glad that I had the opportunity to witness the peak fiction that Hajime no Ippo is. 10 out of 10. Mushoku Tensei. I love myself a good isekai like ReZero, or yeah, that's really it. Besides that, I was sure that Mushoku Tensei was going to be a good watch, and to be fair, I'm kinda split. Half of me thinks that Mushoku Tensei is very good world building and an interesting story that is built upon very well. The stuff that is brought up isn't just dropped and never reiterated on, and I applaud it for that consistency. On the other hand, Rudis is the lowest of the low, bottom of the barrel, down bad, fucking weird. And I'm sure that if he didn't get isekai'd, there would have been cheese pizza allegations on him once someone actually get a look at that hard drive. Yes, I get that the story is supposed to be about Rudius having to start life over and having to deal with the fact that he's such a bum in his previous life, and despite the effort put into making Mushoku Tensei a good story, I just can't bring myself to enjoy it when the guy literally worships a pair of fucking underwear. And although I really can't speak for the whole anime because, you know, I'm yet to even make it through the first season in its entirety, Mushoku Tensei has been intriguing at times, but still I can't bring myself to like it all that much. However, I do respect the coherent storytelling somewhat, and I can see why people like it. 7 out of 10. Interstella 555. I'm not reading all that. This recommendation is an anime movie. It was made for a Daft Punk album. The one that has that one song that Kanye sampled for Stronger, and you know, the one that goes, one more time. You get my point. This is basically just the first iteration of One Piece film Red, because not only is it animated by the same studio, but also because the whole thing is just song after song after song, with the only difference being that there is only music and not a single line of dialogue in the whole 1 hour movie. I really can't say much about this because it is just some random ass story about some blue motherfuckers singing songs whilst being kidnapped, and it honestly felt a bit surreal at times, but I guess it's cool that a story can be narrated with zero dialogue and purely through music and video. It did really feel like one long music video, which I guess is kind of the point. 4 out of 10. 86. Okay, we have a little problem here because you guys really need to stop recommending so many good shows. 86 might have, in fact, it was one of the best animes I've ever watched. The transitions, the cliffhangers, the story itself, and the level of immersion I achieved are only a fraction of the reason I enjoyed it as much as I did. First off, the direction for 86 is phenomenal. I can't even begin to describe how well made the episodes are, and although this is lost for a bit in season 2, the last few episodes are a cinematic masterpiece beyond my comprehension. I genuinely don't have the words to describe how amazing this anime is. 86 takes place in a universe where only people with silver hair called the Alba race are allowed in society, made up of 85 different regions. The 86th region is reserved for a small camp of soldiers called the 86. Wow, that's a surprise. which are just humans that aren't of the Alba race, that are thrown into mechs and sent to war, seen as disposable soldiers or even livestock. 86 is a deep story involving themes such as discrimination and oppression that mimics real-world events both past and present, where people aren't seen as equal just because of the way they're born. And with the introduction of a new handler for the 86, the anime narrates a suspenseful and action-packed story about both the effects of war, systematic racism, and oppression. Whether you're a fan of similar titles such as Attack on Titan, Code Geass, or even if you're not, 86 is something that you need to watch, especially if you like something that isn't just flashy fights without any proper storytelling. I genuinely have to applaud this anime so much because right off the start, you can instantly understand and sympathize with all the characters and feel the weight of their struggles and inner conflicts, no matter who they are. I feel like I experienced every possible emotion watching 86, and although I'm not someone who often cries at anime, I'll admit there were several times where I was bawling my eyes out. 86 is, without a doubt, a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and exactly how a story should be told. The next recommendation... Moses. Time and time, I've recommended you great anime. One Piece, Bleach, ReZero, anything I've told you to watch, you've enjoyed. And we can both agree we're worth the watch. So why, just why, did you throw all of that out of the window and recommend me My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute? What the hell is wrong with you? So anyways, I watched the first episode of My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute, and the name is kind of true because his little sister is not cute at all. And just by looking at the episode names, I was already suffering to the highest degree. And I've even heard from a reliable source that the siblings end up marrying each other. I mean, if that doesn't put a don't watch this in massive block red letters in your mind, then you genuinely need to take a step back and think about what the hell you're doing. 1 out of 10. I really hope you're happy with yourself, Moses. Gurren Laggan. You know, I always thought that these mecha anime would not be something that I could enjoy. That is just simply not my thing, but Gurren Laggan might have just proven that wrong. The anime is kind of slow at first, but trust me, after a certain event around halfway into the anime, things just start picking up fast. Gurren Laggan has this special way of playing with your emotions, despite making itself a light-hearted and almost childish show, yet deep down, it's actually meticulously crafted to make you fucking cry. Or laugh, because for some odd reason I found one of the ending scenes so hilarious, with the side characters just being straight up deleted from the universe, bro. Oh, and I love this fish-looking zesty green guy. He's funny as hell. I'm sure Gurren Laggan would have banged like crazy back in 2007, because it really was ahead of its game. The animation's really good, especially near to the end of the anime. Great recommendation. 8 out of 10. Madoka Magica. You see, my only prior exposure to this anime was seeing a big content creator get absolutely flamed for uttering the words trash in the same sentence as its name. And to be fair, Madoka Magica was a bit underwhelming. It's not that I can't see the appeal, it's more the fact that the story is just really predictable. Whether it simply didn't age well or is badly written, I can't speak on. But if I could predict the ending with the first few episodes, then it's probably not worthy of too much praise. And I'm sure that if I just switched my brain off, I would have enjoyed it way more, because what kind of parent just lets their kid go save the world during a fucking hurricane? I'll give it some credit because the fights are often fire and really unique, but that still doesn't redeem the fact that everything up to the final few episodes was kind of boring. And even then, the ending was really predictable. But at least it wasn't bad. The ending was satisfying, but come on, this definitely would have slapped so much more if I was on shrooms whilst watching it. 5 out of 10. Land of the Lustrous. CGI in anime is often a debated topic, however there's something that is commonly well accepted, and that is Land of the Lustrous, or Land of the Pirates, because of how god-awfully hard it is to watch legally. And since I just about happened to have all of the episodes laying around from when I definitely had a high dive subscription in America in 2017, I was able to watch this great anime. And I'm not gonna go on about how this taught me a life lesson, because quite honestly, I have got no fucking clue as to what I'm supposed to take away from it. And it kinda irritates me because this anime had such a great story and interesting initial idea, and yet I'm sitting here not understanding if I'm an idiot or not. Like, if only I had the mental capacity higher than that of a prepubescent baby, then maybe I would be able to truly see the glory behind this anime. In all seriousness, I really enjoyed Land of the Lustrous, and it's a shame that they decided to end it on such a cliffhanger with zero chance of a second season almost 8 years later, despite how unique and intriguing the whole living piece of shiny rock premise is. 9 out of 10. And since we're on the topic of CGI, let's move on to the next recommendation, which is Berserk. Thankfully, I did some quick negotiation and was allowed to watch the actually well-received 1997 version of Berserk, and not whatever the hell the 2016 adaptation is. You can imagine Berserk to be a bit like Vagabond, except it's set in Europe, and the plot is entirely different. It follows nuts from Dirk from Griffiths. It goes without saying that Berserk is a masterpiece of a manga, and the 1997 adaptation, in my honest opinion, did a great job of capturing it. But I can't quite speak on that because I haven't actually read Berserk, but you know, I'll get there eventually. Oh, and my disbelief when I heard that one. Song of all things in this anime was quite a pleasant surprise. Berserk was one of the anime on this list of recommendations that I was really looking forward to, and it did turn out to be quite the watch. The different aesthetic as well as the 90s animation and art style allowed me to experience something that was quite different to most of the recommendations, because despite this anime not having the same level of budget or innovation as modern anime do, it didn't mean it was any less effective with its storytelling. At times, it kind of feels like you're simply being handed the story without any other over-the-top stimulus. No flashy effects, no music, simply just what's happening, with the background sounds of war or nature. Also, I never knew Griffith got paid to take it up the ass. I'll 100% pick up the manga at some point because I know that I would definitely enjoy it even more than I enjoyed the anime. In the end, I do think that the soundtrack is the reason that I'm giving Berserk an 8 out of 10. My Hero Academia. This one was recommended by a very good friend of mine, and he, in person, told me to make sure that neither his face or name were in the video, because he really didn't want to be associated with My Hero Academia. So then why the hell would you recommend it? Okay, on a real note, MHA wasn't even that bad. The anime itself was low-key kind of good at times, and I'll admit it, I did enjoy it. The start kind of reminded me of Mob Psycho in a way, and also, dog, what the fuck are those emojis? Oh, and just to make this experience worse for myself, because, you know, I can't be caught enjoying My Hero Academia. What am I, a loser? Yeah, I kind of am. I decided to watch My Hero Academia in dub.
Come in, what's the situation? I didn't take you for a horny little slut.
Yo, never mind. Please, All Might, I need this. My mother, she's kinda homeless.
I didn't take you for a horny little slut.
Okay, jokes aside, the first season of MHA wasn't bad, but it also wasn't anything generationally groundbreaking. It was an alright watch, but I'm 100% sure that it will get better in later seasons. But for now, this truly was My Hero Academia 7 out of 10. Perfect Blue. This one was also recommended to me by a very good friend, because I really seem to have a lot of very good friends, who was honestly born a few years too late, because his anime taste consists entirely of old seinen shows, and when I asked this guy for a recommendation, I knew he wouldn't disappoint. And although I'm not a really big fan of psychological shows, mainly because I'm too stupid to understand them, I was actually able to keep up with what was going on in the case of Perfect Blue. I mean, if I were ignorant, I would just say that the main character is simply schizophrenic, but Perfect Blue dives deep into themes that I simply can't describe. It's a great movie, although bear in mind it does have its fair share of unsettling and graphic scenes. Perfect Blue was a really thought-provoking anime, and I might have to save this cheeky little list because after watching this, I could honestly stake the next 3 generations on my bloodline on this guy's recommendations. 9 out of 10. Oregairu. Oh, we all love a good romance anime, don't we? Especially when the love interest isn't blood related. Oregairu is called a romance anime, and yet I don't recall any romance happening in the first 2 seasons, which is mainly because the romance isn't in the same obvious ways that we're used to, but is instead expressed in a way where you have to read between the lines and understand what counts as romance and what doesn't. The characters have realistic problems that are kind of relatable at times, that aren't just bland plot points for the sake of romance. These relatable problems include barking at women, falling in love with femboys, having no friends, obsession with yaoi, or having to talk to people. I mean, although I'm obviously joking, the plot felt a lot more concise and almost as if the characters are, you know, the very same age that they're supposed to be. Obviously, with any piece of fictional media, people won't always act the same as real people for the sake of entertainment or plot progression. But I can definitely remember the last few times that I, as someone of a similar age, have said some corny line, had pointless arguments, or fell in love with a femboy. On top of that, the humor is entertaining and unique at times, which is always a great added bonus. As much as I love the MC's infatuation with a femboy and no one else, I'm someone who finds it quite hard to find a romance anime entertaining. But Oregairu was kinda good. 7 out of 10. Dr. Stone. Imagine being so close to finally confessing to the love of your dreams after 5 whole years, just for the entire human fucking population to be turned to stone. And then once you wake up 3,700 whole years later, you aren't even the main character because there's this living Wikipedia walking around reinventing modern day society from nothing but stone. Dr. Stone is like playing modern Minecraft, except instead of having just enough items, you just have the IQ of the combined human population. I mean, so far it's nothing crazy. It doesn't have any flashy fights or mind-bending plot twists, but what it does have is that it's damn interesting. It's like having every textbook in the world being summarized in anime terms for someone like me who's at the bottom of the dopamine food chain to be able to understand. Dr. Stone was undeniably peak, 9.5 out of 10. Assassination Classroom. So, for some reason, this octopus thing destroyed half the moon and is now, for some reason, threatening to destroy the world in a year's time. And for some reason, the government allowed him to teach a class at school. And for some reason, those kids are now trying to assassinate their teacher. For some reason. Like, sometimes I find it hard to describe what I'm watching. It's essentially just a slice of life, but all the characters are trying to kill this one teacher, but things do end up ramping up at times. Overall, the characters and the character dynamics were great. They were funny and entertaining to watch, minus whatever happened in the storage shed. Assassination Classroom is an anime that you can just enjoy. There isn't too much to think about or understand, and it's for sure deserving of an 8 out of 10 at a minimum. Oh, and it has a bunch of random references to other media, which is always a nice little touch. Yu Hakusho. I've heard beforehand that Yu Hakusho has a lot of similarities with Hunter x Hunter, which, to be fair, does make a lot of sense given that both were written by the same author. When I started watching it, I could definitely see the similarities, like the power system being a much simpler version of Nen, Yusuke having the same amount of determination to win a fight like Gon, and both being undeniably peak. It's another enjoyable shonen, and for once, instead of the main character having a nice little backstory, the main character straight up fucking dies in the first 10 seconds. And no, he does not get isekai, surprisingly. It's an overall peak show, and I'll have to finish watching it eventually. 9 out of 10. This next recommendation is from my absolute goat, the man himself, Teferi. He's also kind of who inspired me to make this video. He recommended me One Piece. Nah, I'm kidding, bro. He recommended Dragon Ball Super. But he was kind of giving me mixed signals, so I settled on watching, the whole thing. And then I realized I was supposed to finish the video this week while I still had 6 recommendations left to get through, so then I settled on just watching the Ultra Instinct Goku vs. Jiren fight. And as someone who's never watched an episode of Dragon Ball in their life, goddamn. This shit broke the internet? Fuck yeah, it did. It's so peak. Like, goddamn, these 2 episodes made Mexican cartel activity drop by 90% 2 weeks in a row. Twice! Like, I genuinely don't even need to have watched any Dragon Ball to see this and think, fuck, man, this is pretty lit. In fact, no, that wasn't accurate. It was more of a, fuck, man, this is peak. I mean, if you show me buff, muscular, angry men screaming at each other with flashy effects, I can't physically say anything but 10 out of 10. And it is my bad for not watching the whole of Dragon Ball Super, but trust me, the moment I get time in this hyper busy schedule, the whole thing is indeed being watched. Oh, and whilst we're on the topic of goats, look who dropped this next recommendation. The one and only Madoka.
I will become the new Brawl Stars roller and reach higher heights than Pointlin ever has.
Yeah, so this guy recommended me Inuyashiki. Inuyashiki. You've probably seen that one clip where the guy asks the girl about her favorite One Piece characters after killing her family. Yeah, it's that anime. And holy, an 11 episode anime with an ending and a fire story? This was low-key a sleeper pick because it turned out kind of fire. It focuses on 2 main characters, both of which suddenly become AI robot mutants or whatever the hell they are, with both being the direct contrast to each other. Inuyashiki is a middle-aged father who is ignored by his family and helps people in order to make himself feel human, whilst Shishigami is a popular and handsome high school student who does the complete opposite and kills innocent people to make himself feel more alive. It's essentially what happens when you give that one friend admin privileges on a server. Like, bro, someone confessed their love to him and this guy's just thanks? Like, the type of threat we're on about here is close to the average 17-year-old, but also not quite the same. Fire anime, and it's easy to binge. Solid 8 out of 10. A good recommendation still won't make you better than me at Brawl Stars RNG. Sorry, Maida. Kimi ni Todoke. As far as romance animes go, I've never really watched one that I could, in terms of enjoyment, compare to my favorite anime of all time. And despite being able to appreciate some good stuff from time to time, at the end of the day, I'm not really a romance anime type of guy. But for the case of Kimi ni Todoke, something just clicked. I don't know if it was the relaxing aesthetic or because of just how wholesome it was, but something about it instantly made me happy and complete. I'm not someone who hands out 10 out of 10s for free. For me to bestow an anime with this kind of rating, it really needs to link and have an impact on me. And this is exactly why Kimi ni Todoke came as a surprise. I thought it would be, like many other great romance animes, something that I'd watch and enjoy and kind of just move on from. But genuinely, I don't remember a single episode where I wasn't left with this warm, fuzzy feeling and a smile on my face. Like, I'm not joking, bro. Like, I couldn't stop fucking smiling. It's just so goddamn wholesome, man. And the art style too, the watercolor background, as well as the goofy way the characters are often drawn, they just add to this relaxing mood that just allows you to sit down and, at least for me, enjoy the anime to the fullest extent. I, honest to God, cannot pick out anything that I could even criticize. In my eyes, this is a perfect 10 out of 10, and I just can't get enough of it, man. Odd Taxi. I said not even 5 minutes ago that something about anime being short with an ending whilst having a fire story, and Odd Taxi might just be another contender for this category. Although it starts out as an anime about a walrus taxi driver, goddamn, the story was so well written, and it's like everything that was brought up mattered in some way or another. The characters were all cleverly inserted into the story to each represent a unique human struggle. And the ending? I'm honestly disappointed that I couldn't predict it earlier because the foreshadowing, it's so great. But at the same time, there really isn't a single point where this foreshadowing will actually give away where the plot is heading. So you unlock the understanding of previous episodes as you go on. Odd Taxi is genuinely incredible writing, as well as there wasn't really a single point in the anime where the stuff going on felt like some sort of gimmick thrown in to try and make it different. Odd Taxi gets a subjective 9 out of 10 from me because that last one has gone into raising my respect for taxi drivers. Grimgar, Ashes and Illusions. This one was recommended to me by another go-to creator, Cloud Manga. And although I don't really want to doubt a recommendation given to me by a fellow creator, you can never be too careful while adventuring into the worlds of isekais. As you would expect, Grimgar is set in a world that closely resembles medieval Europe, like many other isekais. And you know what? Sometimes you really do gotta fuck around and find out, because as I found out, Grimgar was absolute peak. On the whole, it's got lots of chill moments, but mixed into all of those, you have your fair share of suspenseful action and tragic events. One thing that I really liked about Grimgar is that it really delved into the character development and the individual characters and how they are affected by the thing that happens or has happened. Obviously, I'm being a bit vague here, but quite honestly, I don't really want to spoil any major plot points, but on the whole, I was very much entertained by it. Although the ending of the anime isn't an ending to the story, as you would very much expect from any isekai, because let's be real, when the hell has an isekai ever been given an ending, we can very much consider the fact that the anime has ended airing 9 whole years ago. Yeah, GG, go next. Season 2 will not be happening. 9 out of 10. Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. It's 2025 and I still haven't watched Jojo's. Like, seriously, what am I even doing? I run a literal anime YouTube channel and I haven't even watched one of the most well-known anime in the whole fucking world. Hey, shit, man. I was really missing out because Jojo's Bizarre Adventure was quite possibly the most bizarre an adventure gets. Like, bro, half the time, the fights are just random bullshit happening. It's just a competition on who can do the most ridiculous bullshit. But it's so bizarre that you just brush it off. Like, just when you think Joseph doesn't have anything to do when he's approaching a literal cliff, running away from quite possibly the most powerful enemy he'll ever face, he just jumps off. And flies up in a fucking helicopter. Like, honestly, I can't even be mad because I burst out in laughter when I watched this. As I said previously, I can't complain about watching massive jacked men fighting and sometimes screaming. And of course, it's only fitting that, as I watch JoJo's, I unlock new references every episode. If I told me from 4 years ago watching Technoblade's Potato War that Sun Tzu's Art of War was a JoJo's reference, I probably wouldn't care all that much. But still, to me now, that's crazy. So many things that I've seen throughout my life have just ended up being JoJo's references all along. In fact, Persona is just a massive JoJo's reference, because Personas are also based off of tarot cards, just like the stands in JoJo's are. So my favorite game is just a JoJo's reference. Sometimes JoJo's is just so over the top. Come on, bro, you don't need to do all that just to tell us your sister was killed. And you're not him! I only watched parts 1 through 3 as requested, but I'll rate each one individually. Part 1 is a solid 6 out of 10. It wasn't the best in my eyes, but it was still alright, and it was important to start off the story. Part 2 was funny as hell, and the fights near the end especially were fire. 8.5 out of 10. Unlike part 1 and 2, part 3 has a lot less of the absurd but funny bullshit, and it's also even more fast-paced than the other 2 parts were, with the whole thing just being fight after fight, which is exactly what my modern-day brain enslaved by dopamine needs. Saying that I loved part 3 of JoJo's would honestly just be an understatement. Easy 10 out of 10. And with that, that's all 24 recommendations. Honestly, this took me a lot less time than I expected, but I do kind of need to go back and actually finish half the recommendations. Nonetheless, I think this was a really interesting thing for me to do because I finally got to watch stuff that I probably would have never gotten around to watching if I didn't ask others to recommend me it. If I had to pick the 3 best recommendations out of all of the ones that I've watched, I'd probably have to go with Dr. Stone, Hajime no Ippo, and definitely 86. Because at least for me, 86 was the one out of all of these that just really stuck with me. And also, please don't get mad if I rated your favorite anime a 6 out of 10, because let me just put it clear, if I gave something a 6 out of 10, that doesn't mean it's bad, and that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, I just felt like it lacked something, or it just wasn't my thing. And on that note, I wish you a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again another time.